Hi guys, I'm Wilson Scribezoo, and this is GosuGamers' extended coverage of the ELEAGUE FACEIT Overwatch Open Qualifier. Today we have the winners of the third EU qualifier, REUNITED. Would you two please introduce yourself?
Hello,
Go ahead, Kruise.
I actually saw that coming. And hello, I'm Kruise from REUNITED.
Yeah, and I'm Frederik. I'm the managing director of REUNITED, so I'm basically the manager.
Okay, awesome. So this question can be asked to both of you guys, but how'd you guys get into esports?
Well, I've been playing games for the longest time. I can't even remember when I first started playing games, but very recently I took games to the highest level, like I am in Overwatch. Before that, I was just playing not a casual level. I was always good at the games I played, but I always brought school before that. I always valued my education higher than anything else. So I kind of didn't want to take, I don't know, Dota, TF2, CSGO, all the games I played to the highest level. So yeah.
Okay, and you, Frederik?
Yeah. I mean, I used to play. I'm 27 now, so I'm getting into. I'm a bit older, but I used to play like 10 years ago, something like that, together with actually Valutaya from our team right now. Won QuakeCon together with him, and then played very seriously back then. But the industry was much more immature, and I kind of got into education and so on. And now I'm turning back, but I'm more on the management side of esports.
Okay, awesome. So REUNITED is an organization that's founded by the players. So what made you kind of take this approach as opposed to looking for an organization to be signed by?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we back in November when we had access to the Overwatch beta and so on. The guys was playing, and they talked with me about being the manager, so I could help them get a good contract and just in general help them. So we started contacting established organization. We were of course also in contact with Fnatic because that was where their contract was running out. But they didn't really have the same kind of belief and hopes in Overwatch as we did. We kind of felt like, at least. So we basically decided to go down this route because we didn't really find an offer that we were satisfied with, and we thought that we saw a much greater opportunity in this game than they did. So yeah, we wanted to leverage on that, and then there's of course a lot of other stuff, like just in general, creating your own company, having the players as co-owners would just make. The idea was to have them players much more involved, and basically building up a company together would be more fun and you would be more aligned with the interest of company. If the company has success, you also indirectly you get affected indirectly, and yeah, so there was like a lot of different things incentivizing this.
Okay, awesome. So you guys are not like the first organization to do this. Obviously, you had Astralis in CS:GO, and I think like OG and Dota 2 are also examples of kind of like player-run organizations. Do you feel that this trend of having more player-run organizations will propagate into the future, or like will we have a lot of more like future teams start doing this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you just started with Godsend as well now, and I think it's actually pretty much how Premier League started back in the days, and I don't know. I think the opportunities for the players become much greater now, and you're seeing all the first models with Astralis maybe being the first team to really do it. And it seems that the model is working pretty nicely, and it also seems to be something that the community and fans really like and support. So yeah, I think we're going to see much more of it.
Okay, awesome. So as looking forward, do you guys plan to add more teams and more titles to the reunited organization?
Definitely, we're thinking about that. We want to diversify a bit. We might not go into games such as CS or League of Legends, but I think we might go into like upcoming games, and we already have our eyes on some different titles. But yeah, let's see. We definitely want to go into more titles.
Okay, awesome. So this one, let's just dive straight into the Overwatch Open Regional Finals. So you guys will play B-Fly, NIP, and Bringos in your groups. That's actually a relatively hard group. What are your teams to watch out for in that group?
Okay, well, we have the mindset now, which we didn't have in the past, of never underestimating anyone. Before in the past, we may have underestimated a few teams and embarrassingly lost to some. So going into this, we're for sure not going to underestimate anyone. Everyone we're valuing as a top team, but to especially look out for, I would say NIP. They were also known as SG1. They were like our bane. We'd always have close games against them, and other teams would play very well against them. But yeah. NIP.
Mm.
Yeah, no, so of course, but like in terms of like for example, B-Fly and I think Bringos was used to be the old NG Blue, but kind of a disband from that organization. Like sometimes getting VODs of these teams are extremely hard to find. Like how do you prepare for some of these lesser known teams?
Yeah, for sure. It's hard because you can't necessarily look at the VODs. We maybe play them a bit in a scrim, like half an hour, 1 hour, get a feel for what they do. That's the only real way you can prepare.
Yeah, it makes sense. And do you have any thoughts, Frederik?
Yeah, well, I guess also Harry and the guys are a bit. I mean, I think they're less worried because the meta has been stable for some weeks now. So you're not going to face that many. At least you could. You would believe that you're not going to face so many. Surprises because the meta is kind of stable and it's not like there was a patch hitting yesterday and the meta is still getting figured out. So I think that also makes them a bit more comfortable moving into this weekend's playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah, so awesome. So talking about past the results that have already happened, we actually had a huge upset in one of the EU brackets, upset in quotation marks. But Anox actually took out Misfits to qualify first from the EU qualifier. What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like that was just Misfits having a bad game, or do you feel like Anox has been slowly on the rise? Do you feel like this is their tournament to break out?
It's a bit of both for sure. Anox are definitely a team that no one can underestimate. They're for sure up there. The whole EU scene is really close. I watched some of the game. It did seem like Misfits were a little off, but I don't want to take any credit away from Anox. Anox are for sure playing super good.
Yeah. So currently looking at the EU scene, obviously we'll talk about more about Gamescom in a bit, but right now the EU scene is very, very tight. I actually think that, they're easily 3 teams at the very top that are kind of like fighting around, and maybe like 2 teams that are very, very close, or maybe even 3 teams very close. Where do you guys feel like you guys sit at the top of the EU ladder?
Whether we sit as in who's closest to us, or
Yeah, like general ranking, like where do you guys feel like around like the stack of EU teams?
I feel like it's us and Rogue that are up at the very top, and then there's teams like Misfits that are also just a little bit under. Then you have Dignitas, who have been in a little bit of a slump recently, but they always seem to come out of it. Most teams go into this phase where they're not playing so well for a few days, and they just have a break and they come back stronger. But yeah, Rogue and us are at the top.
Let's kind of move on to kind of that little elephant in the room. Obviously, congratulations on your placing at the ESL Atlantic Showdown. While you guys did not win, you guys actually were the only team to really beat the eventual winners, Rogue. How do you guys feel about your overall performance?
It's hard because losing is always losing. I mean, no matter what, no matter the circumstances, losing always hurts. But we all are happy we came this far, but we were expecting to win. We wanted to win, but we can't not be happy with our performance. We watched the VODs of our games. We clearly saw the mistakes that cost us the game, and we're just gonna work forward and not really dwell on the past. Focus on ELEAGUE, make sure those mistakes don't happen again, and make sure we can beat them this time again, 2-0 this time. Because as you mentioned, we beat them earlier in the tournament and sent them down to the lower bracket.
Yeah, so from like an organizational standpoint, how did you guys feel like overall? Like, what did Gamescom really do for the scene?
For the scene and for us, okay, for the scene in general and for the game, I think it kind of it was a good statement for Overwatch and for the future. And like being the first bigger tournament, it just shows that there's a huge potential. I think it had higher viewer numbers than LCS EU playoffs, which was being played at the same time, and just in general, like the traction we are getting on different on social media and just with the guys in general, and I mean the hype is real, right? It seems that this game is. I mean the questions around Overwatch and the esports potential is kind of getting answered right now, and I think it seems like this could go up to being a tier 1 esport.
In terms of exposure, being exposed as a tournament, obviously you guys did relatively well. Do you feel like this improves kind of like your outreach as an organization to reach out to the fans?
Definitely. I mean, we're having a better case for both further investment into our company, but also just sponsors contacting us proactively now, and it's easier, I mean, both because the game is performing well and because the team is performing well. So it's like the 2 main factors for actually, signing sponsors, stuff like that moving forward.
Awesome. So kind of reflecting on Gamescom even more, like what do you guys take away from the entire Gamescom experience? Like it doesn't have to be necessarily in game, but also in terms of just like being able to talk about, hey, how was it like being in Cologne, Germany, and being a part of this great esports festival?
Yeah, it was amazing. This was my first ever LAN, and it was also Kib's first ever LAN, and just the experience was amazing. And going to Gamescom, the amount of people, I had to start taking like the back routes because it was too busy walking through the main halls. It was just like too many people, way too many people. But the experience, like I said, was amazing. It was really nice. The crowd was amazing. Being able to hear the crowd when you're playing over your soundproof ear muffs, whatever they are, headphones. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, really good.
Yeah, yeah, exactly like Kruise said. I mean, it was a question from at least from external people asking like, could Kruise and Cube perform on LAN? And we saw that was the case, and we also take away that Overwatch has a great future, and just in general that our team can perform on a tournament. So I mean, everything is positive in our end. Maybe we could have won the whole thing, but I guess we're gonna do that at ELEAGUE. But let's see.
Okay. Yeah, so looking over across the river or across the ocean at the NA teams, so while you guys had two NA teams make the semifinals, no NA team made the Gamescom finals, does that solidify the notion that EU is better than NA, or what do you think, like, what do you think the position between the two regions is currently?
It's hard to say. I mean, going into the tournament, all these people were saying NA are so much better, NA are so strong, mainly because Envious is with them. But I mean, you can't really say that because it's just NA playing against NA, and then we've got EU playing against EU. You can only really find out when you come to these events. But it's hard to say when there's only been one. You need to like average it out over a few LAN tournaments to actually say EU is better, NA is better. But I mean, even in the top NA teams, there's EU players in there, so it's hard. Do you count NVS as an NA team? I don't know. I kind of claim them as us because they're 5 EU, right, and 1 NA. But either way, it's hard. It's hard to say which team is better. But based off this one tournament, yeah, you can't deny it. EU was better at this tournament.
So what do you think are the main differences between the NA teams and EU teams, both like, as like a team composition means with their players and both organizationally?
From the player's point of view, the way they play the game, there's definitely hero differences. Like in the EU, we love Genji. We play a lot of Genji, and I've noticed in A they love Tracer, and also in King of the Hill, some of their comps they like to stick to what they do, and then in the EU we like to stick to what we do. I don't know. It's just I don't know necessarily how that happens, but I guess it's just them playing each other with just them comps, and maybe they get beaten by it. They're like, oh, this must be really good. I'm gonna use this as well. Then it just snowballs, and everyone uses it. Same over in EU. And then organization-wise, I guess Frederik can talk about that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think it's interesting to see at least that some of the top European teams like us and Rogue and Misfits, it's all kind of startups, right? Okay, now Misfits and Rogue, they also signed other lineups, so they are more diversified than us. But I mean, NA, it's basically big established organization who picked up Overwatch teams. But that's more like, yeah, that's just a note, I guess. It's interesting.
Yeah, of course. So let's kind of move on more to ELEAGUE and FACEIT. So when you first heard that ELEAGUE and FACEIT were running like this event that was going to be broadcasted on American television, what were your initial thoughts?
I mean, I was really excited. I'm really glad that esports is broadening out to more like to TV, to much more a bigger audience, to people that aren't necessarily involved in esports, to give them a chance to try to understand or get involved with it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's great. I mean, we kind of were hoping for ELEAGUE to pick up Overwatch, and I think Overwatch has a great format for television, as it's not rated in the same way as CS:GO and so on. I think the ELEAGUE is testing the waters now with this tournament, and let's see what the future brings. It's great for sure.
Yeah, obviously, I think this is like a important point to make, but esports, obviously, there's that weird barrier to entry where it's if people who haven't played the game or haven't had experience in previous esports like are thrust into watching something like this on television, there might be a little bit of a disconnect. What do you think esports really needs to change, or Overwatch really needs to change to kind of get that mainstream success?
I'll let Frederik talk about this.
I think they have to fix the spectator stuff, but they're already working on that. And then I actually think, I mean, I was a bit frustrated maybe when I first heard about, or surprised maybe is the right word, when I heard about the World Cup. But then, when I reflected on it a bit more, I actually think initiatives like that is pretty great, because I think we need the personalities within esports, like you see in League of Legends and other games. And for those personalities to grow and so on, I think Blizzard is doing a lot of stuff to enable the growth of these personalities. So I think we need the big personalities, and then we need a game that's easier for people who haven't played it before to at least grasp the concept and understand what's actually going on.
Yeah, so like I think that's actually a very good point to make in terms of expanding on personalities in the World Cup. What, as you can see, kind of in I guess BlizzCon Invitationals, they're definitely looking to invite some Asian teams as well as Australia. What do you feel about the development of these specific regions in the entire scene?
I think it's really nice that these like these big organizations in Asia, like Newbie and MIG and stuff like that, are getting involved in the scene and seeing how important this game is going to be and how big of an esport it will be. It's really nice to see that Australia as well. Like I think it was, I forgot what team it was. There was a decently sized org picked up Untitled spreadsheet from Australia. Yeah, it's really nice seeing that scene over there grow just as much as our scene and the NA scene.
Yeah, so that team was actually Tempo Storm. But yeah, no, that was a huge priority pickup for them as well. I definitely knew that REUNITED wanted to expand into the genre and was just waiting for the right team to pick them up. So moving past kind of like more logistical stuff, let's talk about the meta. Obviously, patch notes wise, there's a lot of big changes coming to the support pool. How do you feel like the Zenyatta nerfs and Lucio nerfs really impacted the game from your view as a support player?
It's always hard to see just based on the patch notes. I mean, it gives you an understanding, but just without actually playing it in a team environment, in a scrim environment, I'd say that Lucio is going to be fine. I mean, his speed boost is the only thing that's impacted pretty much, so it's just going to be a little slower going into team fights. But his overall kit is still too powerful to not have the passive speed and the ultimate and the aura of heal. It's too nice to not have in the team. And for Zenyatta, he does the same damage still. It's just his team doesn't do the same damage. So it's hard to say whether Mercy will replace him or he'll stay the same. It's really hard to say right now. But for sure, if Mercy and Pharah will be around, it's gonna be harder to kill the Pharah because you do less damage now with the Discord.
Yeah. So in terms of other nerfs as well, Genji kind of got a lot of his mobility kind of taken away, doesn't feel as fluid on the PTR. How do you feel that really is going to impact, because we talked a lot about, European teams love Genji, how is that really going to impact his pick rate?
The support changes. It's hard to say. I played him. He feels a little bit clunky, but I think it's a matter of just getting used to it. And because I mean, they changed the way his like triple jump worked essentially, where you climb up walls, which was like a signature thing, like something that was used all the time, just to avoid being attacked or to get to higher places. And also the animation cancel, the melee of the shift. It means there's like a slight window where you could have escaped before, but now you might get killed because there's an extended period and the time to kill in this game is so fast. But I personally think he's still going to be played a lot. His overall kit is still there. His ultimate's still 6 seconds long. And 6 seconds is still plenty of time to get like 2-3 kills, which is more than enough. So I still think he's going to be fine, but time will see it show.
Yeah, so many teams have kind of used that Tracer Genji as kind of like the death comp on King of the Hill maps. How do you feel like some of these changes really impact the team compositions for Koth maps?
I mean, with the Lucio speed boost change, that is quite big for King of the Hill because when you play Lucio, you speed boost as soon as you come out the gate to get there as fast as possible. But I wouldn't really see teams not running Lucio, so it's just going to mean that everyone's going to be slightly slower. And Genji Tracer, that composition will be fine. I think on King of the Hill for sure. I was more looking at the Genji changes to impact payload. I think on King of the Hill he's still going to be played the way he is with Tracer.
Okay, awesome. Could you actually elaborate on Genji's role in payload maps?
Yeah, he's more of just being not necessarily annoying, but just getting in the back and using his high mobility to avoid getting killed, just poking. Then when he gets someone low enough, go in and kill them, or just setting up plays pretty much, and just being that annoying hero in the back you can't really kill because he's so mobile.
Yeah, of course. So let's talk about something that's a little more off meta. Obviously, Rogue was, I think, the only team at tournament, or one of the, I guess, the only teams at tournament to bring in Mei and on Hanamura. As a team, how do you guys really adjust to something that's like an off meta pick that you guys just gets thrown at you?
I mean, it's really hard to see from like analysis point or caster's point of did this team bring this in first, or has this been not something that's been going on? Because also Hanamura is a rare pick, but this Mei and Hanamura has been going on for, I'd say, months now. I'm not sure who played it first, but we've been playing it personally for months, and it's just something that we've just grown to understand and grown to know how to play against. And I think actually we were one of the teams that dealt with it the best. Sorry, the way we deal with it is just grouping up and just speed boosting straight through together. So it's really hard to Mei wall.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the biggest qualms a lot of professional players had with the thing was that if you go in slowly, you can easily cut off their Reinhardt or cut off their tanks, and all of a sudden, there's no way back, and you can change that fight from a 6v6 into a 4v6 very quickly. So, with that being said, kind of the entire speed boost and how to adapt to it, a lot of teams are struggling kind of to improve communications in their games, and this is obviously not very easy because there's hard to find, I guess, VOD examples of teams like, actually doing scrims and having voiceover comms for that. What do you think is the best way to help a team improve their communication?
Yeah, I think the first step is to find a shot caller, to someone that's going to be just doing most of the calls, the when to engage, when to like go on positioning, where to go on the map, where to engage from, and stuff like that, and then work from there. And then find someone that's going to call focuses. I mean, the heroes themselves, they kind of, I mean, if you're playing Lucia, you should be shot calling in my eyes because I mean you control the pace of the game because you control the speed boost. Then if you're playing Zenyatta, you should be the one calling focuses because you're the one discording. So you have the most control over these type of things. It's just finding people that are confident on that role and are able to do that role well. And it's honestly just takes practice.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And I think that's actually really insightful. I think that's actually very good advice for maybe some aspiring players. So going over to more of like a recent issue, and this is actually specifically because we have Frederik on the call as well. I want to bring you up about this, but recently, like within the past week or so, Riot Games, I guess the organization who runs League of Legends, has kind of caught a little bit of flack for the way they've been, I guess, adapting the game that doesn't really suit the competitive scene. And obviously, League of Legends is one of the only organizations that has like a full-time league. I think that's around like 10 months or whatever that pays their players stipends and stuff like that. So looking at that and trying to bring it into Overwatch, or at least bring that perspective into Overwatch, what are your feelings on something like that, like of a league that Blizzard creates to help develop teams and help develop the scene? Do you think that's a good idea, or do you feel like we are better off in a different format?
Oh, I think it's a great idea. But I also think it would be great if it's set up maybe not it's somewhere in. I think that's also my feeling from what I see Blizzard doing. But I think Blizzard is like in between what Valve and what Riot Games are doing. So I think it's going to be. I hope they're going to do something with a league where it's also possible to have other tournaments around it, and it's not maybe not being run throughout the whole year. Or I mean, I think they're going to do something so it's not totally in-house, and they're also willing to outsource a lot of the stuff to just we saw at Gamescom with ESL and maybe DreamHack can host some, and I mean they're also now the owners of or Activision Blizzard is the owners of MLG, so. I think I hope it's going to be a mix more than just a closed league throughout the whole year.
Yeah, so with that kind of format, obviously, I think having more of an independent format means a lot more tournaments, especially if you're participating in a league. Kruise, from your perspective, do you feel like players would want more tournaments, or do you feel like they're comfortable with the current schedule of tournaments coming up?
I think every player is different. Every player has the different opinions, but I mean, I'm one of the players that enjoys having more tournaments. But I do understand the issues of that with the like having all the big teams playing in tournaments so regularly, like it will get stale. So maybe it's nicer to have a little bit less, but bigger tournaments, so the game is still fluid and not it doesn't get stale, pretty much.
Yeah. So what are your guys' ideas on kind of developing a grassroots scene, right? There's obviously you guys are, I guess, a really good example, kind of like a startup, a company that just comes in and just is able to do very well. How do you feel like Blizzard can better help some of these new organizations like get recognition?
It's hard. Maybe if they did like a spotlight on Battle.net of each team,
Mm.
but
I
then
mean, exactly. I think they could set up this, like they had in World of Warcraft or some of the other games, like this guild/clan system. Maybe trying to make it more visible for the actual game or the actual player base, which teams are in the game. Um, it's like incorporated into the game. You also see that in Dota and so on. Something like that could be really, really, really cool. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just brainstorming.
Yeah, no, of course, and obviously that's a question I just kind of want to pose to you guys. I feel like having a player and like kind of a manager talk more about how we can better enhance the scene and strengthen the community as a whole. All right, so as the interview kind of comes to an end, what do you guys want to see next in Overwatch? We've obviously talked a lot about things you would like to see, but if we had to say like the next new thing to come to Overwatch, what would you guys want it to be?
the next
I want to see season 2 succeed, and I want to see that's my personal hope at least that people are really gonna dig the season 2 changes, and then maybe we're gonna be closer to. And of course, it's not gonna be the final format, but I think we're gonna be closer to a format that the professional players also support more fully. That'll be really cool. And then, yeah, what else? What would we like to see? More announcements from Blizzard, more announcements from other tournament organizers, I guess.
Yeah, and also some key changes like having the pause button released. That'd be great. That was really helped the scene. It was super annoying when someone drops out or there's sound issues and you're not able to pause. And
Yeah.
I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for the new heroes that hopefully will come. Very excited for that.
Yeah, of course, and obviously there's a lot currently in the pipeline. Obviously, Sombra is like I think the big announcement everyone's looking forward to, and obviously that new map that was released that's still being played on the PTR. So, as this interview kind of closes, would you like to give any shout outs to your sponsors and fans?
Yeah, sure. I go ahead. I mean, we want to say thanks to our partners, of course, which is currently Sennheiser and Zoe. And yeah, like in general, we are currently looking into closing additional sponsorships and partnerships. So yeah, I mean, anyone out there who wants to support a Overwatch team should definitely try to see if they can get in contact with us.
All right. So, and you, Kruise, any shout outs for your fans or
Oh
anyone
yeah,
else?
thanks to all the people that support us. Thank you for all the people that came up to us at Gamescom, and just overall everyone that supports Reunited. Thank you very much.
All right.
Exactly. Actually, I would like to put something in here. Like it is super tough to build up a brand like this. So it's really great to see all the people that has been supporting us. Actually, also from a pretty early stage. It's really cool. And we couldn't really do anything without the guys supporting us, because the way it works for us is the more supporters we get, the better the business case and the better the chances of the team succeeding becomes. So yeah, it's just great overall, and we're getting a lot of great feedback, and it's really nice.
Yeah, awesome. And obviously on my side, thank you for GosuGamers for hosting this interview, and obviously thank you to ELEAGUE and FACEIT for hosting the Overwatch Open series, as well as kind of advertising this little segment that we're doing right here. And below our names right now, you can see our Twitter handles, where you can kind of follow us on social media if you would like. So make sure to give both the guys a follow as well. And yeah, so obviously, guys, thank you so much for coming and doing the interview. I know we kind of delayed this a little bit, but obviously, great to hear a lot of thoughts from your side. And good luck in the Open regional finals. And then obviously, if you guys make it onto the LAN finals, good luck in Atlanta.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks, man.